Hello all and welcome to Newstead A-Level Fine Art. Okay, so the course, Year 12 is seen almost as a foundation year. We wanting to experiment with all of the equipment and facilities we have in the department. So we basically do, the course is AQA Art and Design Fine Art, so it might be that you come from a photography GCSE or we've had successful students that do that. It may be that you've done the fine art GCSE, you might have done a different exam board, but just so that you know, it's art and design, fine art. Okay, so there are three main projects in Year 12. We do the figure in space, sculpture, a sculpture project, and the mock exam. The figure in space is basically lots of drawing, not people in outer space, but it's learning to draw the figure and everything around it in a composition. I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. Sculpture is ceramics. We've got a kiln at Newstead. You do a ceramics project, puppets, and then you also do what we call a wearable art project, and then you do a mock exam. You get your title in February. It's very similar to your GCSE exam that you would have had, but didn't have, but maybe, hopefully, did have for your mock. Don't worry, we're all doing exactly the same thing together, so don't worry too much about that. And then you're going to produce a portfolio of developmental work and a final piece. You should hopefully be used to that format. Okay, then the first project, the figure in space. The first term starts with a few weeks of heavy drawing. So we're relearning good skills and unlearning bad skills. The main thing being that you need to look more. And yes, you will draw things upside down. We then move on to more technical elements, including live drawing, which we do at an external provider. I'll talk to you about that as well. Foreshortening, which is basically, as you can see in the boy in the left-hand side, when things are closer to the viewer, i.e. his hand, becomes much bigger than the rest of his body. And it's basically how you can show perspective in the human figure. Mixing flesh tones, we do within the project an introduction to film photography. We've got a darkroom and a studio in Newstead, and then you produce a resulting final piece based on an artist of your choice. The sculpture project, we do a short puppet project looking at the Bauhaus artist Paul Klee, a ceramics project, and the fashion wearable art project inspired by Picasso's ballet costumes. If you haven't seen them, look, it's absolutely amazing. Or you might have seen them at the Royal Academy earlier on in the year. Okay, then for the mock exam, you do a portfolio of development work based on a set theme. So this theme was unconventional beauty. You do your research and you do your plan, so your statement of intent, and then you do your some more artist research, and then you do some primary photos research, and some more, and then some observational drawing, and then some material experiments. I know you know the process. And then you do some more observational drawing. And then you start to work towards a plan for your final piece. And then you do your final piece. And that really is Year 12. Then in Year 13, you do your personal study. That's 60% of your marks. So over the summer, we advise you to think about your personal study and your particular area of interest. So hopefully after you've done Year 12, which is photography, drawing, painting and sculpture, hopefully it's like we keep it as broad as possible. By that time you decide what you're really interested in, and then you then work on a project on your area of interest until the beginning of January of year 13. So for the personal study, like we had titles last year on an exploration of the self as changing and responsive to its environment, an exploration of identity through prints and fabrics, and how are natural landscapes used as a narrative tool. That is like a really, really intense project. I'll show you some photos in a second of some of the pieces. Yeah, but I think especially for those students who are wanting to go on to art school, it just gives them the time to really, really refine their ideas and work in mediums that they're interested in and build like a really solid portfolio, which is really helpful for your portfolio that you're going to take to your interview. So because it's your project and you talk about it and it's exactly what you want to do, and that just helps you. Okay, so then you have your mocks, and then in the January of year 13, you have your mocks, and then you receive your exam project. It's very similar to the way in which you were meant to have done it at GCSE. Only this time you have a 15-hour or a 3-day exam. Just have a look at the titles. You can see that the students were like really quite broad in terms of their personal study titles. I just think that's a really good opportunity to be very broad and research your area of interest. Okay. This is Farah's piece. She took lots of photos in the studio for this but this particular piece was an exploration of the self as changing in response to our environment. So it's a digital film of Ollie in the studio that she then broke down into stills, a bit similar to Muybridge's Horse in Motion, if you know that. It shows how the face moves in response to a chosen stimulus. Farah did lots of photographic in this project. It wasn't always the face. She did lots of things of sort of protests, took lots of photos of protests and films. Hopefully when we go back to school we can sort of show you these things and you can see the projects from start to finish. Natalina's study of a clearing in the woods was pen and ink. Natalina had a really sort of strong style from the very beginning, and sort of like her interests were drawing from nature, from observation. She was really into anime, and definitely had a kind of illustration style from the beginning. It wasn't that she couldn't be swayed, she just had a very definite interest and fitted her title around the things that she enjoyed drawing. Natalina's got a place at Bournemouth University to do illustration. She got offers from all 3 universities that she wanted to go to. She decided to go to Bournemouth. 3 more of our students have also been accepted onto art courses for next year. So it's really good. We've had like a really creative bunch, and hopefully you will do exactly the same. Okay, Cara's project title was How Do Artists Portray Their Psychological Relationship to Their Artwork? This is Cara talking to her brother in the style or inspired by Marina Abramovich, who's a performance artist. But Cara's final piece was an oil painting, or 2 oil paintings that she was planning to display opposite each other in a corridor. Hopefully we'll still get to have the year 13 show. Sound really depressed. I'm not depressed about it, but it's going to be amazing when we do have the show, and you lot will be able to see it in September. Okay, and this is Caitlin's project. It's based on the future and how that would impact on the self and essentially our souls. So this piece is based on the effects of different lighting. So there was lots and lots of portraits, This was just her painting with like a lamp, so like an unnatural light source. And then she had different portraits that showed different effects of light on her. It was a really interesting idea. Okay, so we have been told that we need to talk to you about the bridging unit. Not we have been told. You must talk to them about the bridging unit. No, we've been told we need to talk to you about the bridging unit. And I thought I'd use this opportunity because I realised that you've got like 8 documents. You're like, read the art handbook, or basically it tells you what to do in the email. There's 4 things that you need to do, which is do all of the work in the drawing PowerPoint, and then for the history of art task, you need to read the Academy's sheet, and then you need to do the still life. Read the still life sheet, and then you need to go away and write your response to the still life sheet, and then produce a response based on still life. Okay, so I'm just going to read what I've written down so that I know that I've covered everything. So, you should all by now have received your bridging unit. It consists of 6 weeks, I've said this, 6 weeks of drawing tasks and a history of art analysing artwork unit with your opportunity to produce a response. It is really important that you do both of these activities. Firstly, because we want you to maintain an artist practice. We totally get that you're in lockdown. It's not the most inspiring. But also, hopefully, you have been a little bit inspired and you have seen or taken some solace in drawing. We really want you to continue to do that. And please ensure that you do, because otherwise, by the time that we get to September, you're going to be a little bit rusty. So make sure that you do. Okay. It's not enough to just draw from observation. We want you to be intrigued by what you are drawing and draw with a sense of purpose. So basically, the tasks in the drawing PowerPoint really sort of do encourage you to sort of look and think and be in the moment and feel what you're drawing. It's hard, but if you do the step by steps, you will sort of start to purpose, and just give yourself some time to think and be with what you're drawing. I know I'm sounding a bit hippie-ish here, but it's like, you know, if you're writing an essay and you've got the radio on, you're not going to write a good essay. So do see this as focus time, i.e. no distractions, just drawing and really enjoying to draw. Okay, the art history task is designed to understand the journey that art has taken post-Renaissance to present. We want you to not be afraid or bored, I think, by sort of mid 20th century art. You might think of it as a bit dry. You might think of it as might as well have just taken a photo. All of those things, we want you to know why it is the way it is, and then how it's developed across 600 years. Well, nearly 600 years. Yeah, so that's the point of the still life task and the Academy's reading. So basically, if you start by reading the Academy's handout, which describes their influence on the art world, and producing your own still life timeline. Still life has been chosen because it was seen by the Academies as the lowest form of art, i.e. it wasn't describing a biblical story or historical moment, as with history paintings or portraits. Because of this, it's allowed artists over time to produce much more experimental takes on their subject. Still life was the only, you'll read this in the Academy sheet, it was the only form of art that women were allowed to produce, which I think is quite interesting. Research it, produce your own timeline. You should include 20 to 30 images of still life paintings from the 1500s to present and note the key changes. Include the artist and dates, please. Then produce an essay and your own response. A really, really short essay just on the development of still life from the Renaissance to now. and your own response, inspired by one of the artists. Okay, so I kind of wanted to promote a few of the things that we do at A level in the form of a quick quiz, because everyone loves a quiz. This is for you. You should send your answers on a postcard. But if you ever, I said this, and then I thought they're not going to know what this is. But if you talk to your parents, it's basically kids' TV in the 90s. If you entered a quiz, you didn't contact them on Instagram or by email. You wrote your answer on a postcard and you sent it to the television studio, and they read it out the next week. So what we want you to do, because I think it'll be quite fun, and you might go somewhere in the UK, send us your answers on a postcard, and I'll give you the address at the end that you can send them to. Okay, so I said earlier that our first project in September is titled The Figure in Space. Within this project, you will practice drawing from the very beginning and perhaps unlearn some previous drawing techniques or bad habits. This will help you to produce better drawings. When you read up on the academies, you will find out that the Royal Academy was the first art school in the UK and was founded in 1768, some 200 years after Europe's first, the Academy of Drawing in Florence in 1562. Question 1. Artists trained for 4 years. What did they spend the first year doing? Was it A. Copy and drawing of anatomical parts, e.g. ears and feet? Was it B. Copy and drawings of the whole figure? Was it C. Drawing from casts of classical sculpture? Or was it D. Drawing from male nudes in life class? Okay. Talking of the Royal Academy, this year we supported 2 of our Year 12 students through the interview and application process for their Attract scheme. This is a new extracurricular activity for us, but we're dedicated to enrolling more students on the course again this year and hold sessions for writing your personal statements after October half term. It's a really, really good way for you to start, I think, writing about your own artwork and deciding what sort of things you're interested in. The Attract scheme has loads and loads of different workshops, not just fine art. There's architecture workshops, you have a portfolio review, which is really helpful for you if you're applying for art school, whether you're going to apply for art school. And there's also an introduction to screen printing, which is seen in this image here. We've got screen printing facilities at Newstead, and we actually do quite a lot of printmaking. I didn't emphasise that very much earlier on, but we do quite a lot of printmaking in the Human Figure project. So, in this picture, printed piece, Start with a Practical Idea by Kira Phillips, a Turner Prize nominee. Your job is to identify the next 3 screen print artists. Who is this artist? It's a Scottish artist of Italian heritage. He also designed the tiles at Tottenham Court Road Tube Station. This artist notably designed a very famous politician's poster campaign. This artist was very famous for doing a lot of promotional work for the Beatles and more. Find out. Okay, so Kira Phillips, the previous artist, the screen printing one, was nominated for the Turner Prize in 2014. Last year, the Turner Prize was held at Turner Contemporary in Margate, and we took our Year 12 and Year 13 students on a day trip to see the Turner Prize in December. It was cold. The nominees last year were Lawrence Abu Hamdan, Helen Kamak, Oscar Murillo and Taishani. The question 3 is, last year's prize was notable for one reason. What was the reason? Talking of Turner, part of the transition from GCSE to A-level is a need for students to research in more depth their personal interests. A key element of the personal study requires you to write 3,000 words. This work was voted the greatest painting in the UK by the public in a 2005 poll for the BBC Radio 4 Today programme. It was one of Turner's favourites. He called it My Darling. James Bond, Daniel Craig's James Bond, was compared to the old battleship in the painting when he met the new Q in front of the Terra Mare in Skyfall, and it even features on banknotes. Which banknote does it feature on? Is it A, £5? Is it B, £10? Is it C, £20? Or is it D, £50? And then, as part of our Figure in Space project, we attend a 2-whole-day life drawing workshops at the Wallace Collection. The Wallace Collection is a national museum which displays the art collections brought together by the first 4 Marquesses of Hertford and Sir Richard Wallace, who was thought to be the illegitimate son of the 4th Marquess. It was given to the British nation by Lady Wallace, Sir Richard's widow, in 1897, and their house and its art collection has been on display to the public since 1900. It is filled, absolutely fills this whole house with artwork. There's artillery, armour, hundreds of like romantic paintings. That's romantic movement, not romantic snogging. It's an amazing place. Hopefully we will get to go there again next term. If not, we'll do it another way. But life drawing is a really key part the course, and you learning to draw. It just makes you a better drawer in every sense of the word. So it's a really good thing to do, and we will do it. So going back to the quiz, which fictional character brought a reproduction of Thomas Lawrence's portrait of George IV? Was it A, Jane Eyre? Was it B, Dorian Gray? Was it C, Becky Sharp? Or was it D, Philip Pip? Answers on a postcard, please. And last but not least, we want to know about you. So, this is your final question. If you had to work with only 3 bits of art media for the rest of your life, which 3 would you choose and why? You can pick any art material you wish. They're not just limited to those in the photos. Please put that at the bottom of your postcard, mainly so that we get to know a little bit more about you. And then you will need to send your answers on a postcard to Miss Faith, that's me, Miss Pimpiska, who's the other art teacher. She's great. We wanted to both record this together, but we couldn't figure it out. No, we could really, but it didn't work and we got frustrated. So we're sending you this one, and hopefully it's not been too bad. All right, so send your answer on a postcard to Miss Faith and Miss Pimpiska, Newstead Wood School, Avebury Road, London, BR6 9SA. We hope you have an amazing summer. We hope that you enjoy working on the bridging unit and completing your finding out about what you like a little bit more. Keep going and keep drawing and keep finding out what you like. Thank you very much. Goodbye.